Hey, T, Spurs. Baby, what a day. What a day. Come on in, y'all. Let's talk about it. To be young and dumb, I guess. He took old Cassie, Cassandra. Cassandra. He took her through it, didn't he? Baby. I still... She said he passed her around. What I say this morning, I don't know nobody I done been with that's okay with just sharing. That say they love me, baby. Did he pass her around? Hey, Willie. Hey, Cynthia. Hey, plus size baddie. Baby. What LL Cool J old song, I Get Around? No. Around the Way Girl. He had both of them, didn't he? She got around, didn't she? What type of boyfriend? Well, he really wasn't her boyfriend. He just played with her mind. She said, baby, I would have gotten away from him so bad. Diddy sick on a different level. Diddy. Baby, I was like, ooh. She felt disgusted and dirty. I know you did. It ain't that much love. And I kept thinking, you moved with him. Why you didn't have why y'all didn't live together? I mean, we couple enough for me to move out of state with you, but I can't live with you? What we doing? What we doing? What is that called? Relocate with me, but you can't stay with me? What? Look, you know, Dicky Diddy. When I come up with a plus size baddie. Oh, Dicky Diddy. Dicky Diddy. I think, you know, I am extremely thankful that I've always had, in a heartbeat, I have always had some type of, now, you know, I don't want to act like, you know, everybody ain't got a certain, you know, freak in them, you know. But baby, I ain't down with a whole bunch of stuff. Where my, I ain't got no ring. I don't got my ring over here. Why am I moving with you? And I find that I brought issue up that she was only jealous of Kim Porter. And she was okay after she passed away. So then I'm thinking about everything Al B said. So she was real, real jealous. Why? Cause she stayed in the house. Hell, Al B and them thinking Diddy gave her something. Hell, it could have been her. AunTeaFee. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. It could have been her. She was saying how jealous she was. Her thorn in her side was Kim Porter. So I'm sure she thought once she was gone, she was gonna be number one. Here I go. You see me plus size better, you know I ain't no good. But we finna listen to what went on today. He broke her down. Well, just the thought of, you know, and she was young, but even when I was young like that, But you know, I was one of the ones, you know, I got a whole bunch of homies. And I had a player brother. And I saw some things early that warped my mind with dudes playing with me a long time ago. What I will and will not, cheating and sharing and all that type of stuff. I'm only gonna play for a little while. Hey, Joanne, you ain't gonna play me. Let me go and get these pearls. Take them pearls off, baby. Cause we gonna go, So, you know, when you young and dumb and he paying your rent, I can dig it. He bought you a car, I can dig it. But he putting hands on you. Now we got a problem. Because if you think you can mishandle me because of the things that you provide for me, oh no, baby. Oh no, baby. See, I've always been rapped like that. Even young, you know. I'm only gonna put up with a certain amount and then I'm gonna shut it off. And anyway, you know, and you know, I know some chicks who would say, she wants somebody to take care of her. Okay? I'm gonna get my own. That's because you have to. I wasn't supposed to say that either, was it? Plus size better, you got me. Let me stop so we can start. You know, but if that means putting up with all of that, black eyes and all that type of stuff, keep that. Keep that. And I wish we, the females, would learn to stop accepting toxic, hurtful, heartless relationships. I don't care what nobody say. Beat me don't mean you love me. I don't give a. That has never made sense to me. Oh, he did that because he loved me. Girl, you've been brainwashed and you probably seen your mama get beat. I don't know where you get that from. I don't know where you get that from. I wish that we, the people, would stop knowing something ain't good for us. Knowing it ain't good for us. And still either go into it or stay in it. I wish that we would know our worth and put your value at a step above. It don't have to be way up there where nobody can reach it. But I ain't finna tolerate all that type of stuff. We need to learn how to love ourselves and like ourselves. So if we have to be by ourselves, we'll be okay. Before I put up with you passing me around. What? Sharing me out. What? Watching in the corner. You can't please me yourself, or you don't want to. But you can please men, because I heard you fuck the shit out of Meek Mill. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that either. Hey, Deborah. Yeah. Rumor had it that, you know, what's his name? Sean Carter don't want to fool with you, girl. He wants your man. Sean John is the only one Sean Carter want. He don't want to share. He don't want no threesome. That's what? See, when people start accepting that or making that okay or justifying that in your head and you got a man, baby, you got a problem. Kim Porter was a pretty lady, yes. But baby, I'll be sure coming out and saying no. But let's get this started because I don't want to be here all night. But I really hate this for her because she was young. But then on the flip side, she was into it. She was into it, if I heard it right, until she realized, boo. Majority of the time, ladies, young ladies, when you start doing all that freaky, kinky shit like that, I'll be sure I swinging a bat, baby. Woo-wee. And you know who got his back with the facts? Gene Deal. Got his back with the facts. Yep. And you guess who else? Well, guess who co-signed Gene Deal? Chopper from Making It of the Band. He said everything Gene Deal has said has been true. He said Jaguar Wright exaggerates. I could see that. But she do know some things. Baby, Chopper was speaking on it, wasn't it? And I used to really like him on Making of the Band. Because he was a kid. And it sounded like he was smarter. Well, he was older. He was 16. And Usher was 13. Usher mama need her ass whooped. Did I say that? Usher. Usher mama need her ass whooped. You gave up your son's ass for fame. The mama gave up her son's ass for fame. Because at 13, you should have halfway have known what was coming with letting your child go with some strange ass man that you don't know. For a whole damn year. So in other words, his mama said you can fuck around with him for a year. Asked Usher, would he let his son, Diddy, mentor his son for a year? He said, hell no. And that's what his mama should have did. But anyway, oh yeah, she need her ass whooped, baby. Now I'm sure right now she thinking, well, he okay, he made it out, yeah. But see, this is what kills me about the decisions adults make. You don't think about the repercussions of it emotionally and mentally down the line. the mental disconnect down the line. And we, the black people, gonna tell them, okay, just get over it. You all right. But I ain't finna preach on that, baby. We finna start. Y'all ready? Yeah, she sold his, yes. Yes. That Beaver boy, he had no idea. And Usher baited him at a tender age. Tevin Campbell, boy, when I think about him, when I think about a lot of them, don't care. Didn't and don't. Yeah, baby, let me tell you something. He couldn't be related to me. I'll be trying to beat up everybody who I know can think of. Wonder if Jay-Z going to be called. They saying, I wonder why they won't, what's her name? Quincy and Tevin. Why everybody was talking about Michael Jackson. Reckon they should have moonwalked on down the street around the corner. And then to know that, oh boy, pissed in her mouth. Oh my God. Not on her. That's one thing. In my mouth? A fight come with it. Baby, ooh, Lord. Ooh. Let's listen, y'all. Let's listen. And talk in the comments, because I'm going to set it down and I'm going to be talking with you. Because this shit right here, and it's going to get worse. Why they want Michelle from Destiny's Child? I thought she was holy. I thought she, but she had some mental issues too, didn't she? She got some mental issues too, right? That's why she couldn't get married. Remember, she started having some bipolarism. That's that the remnants of that mess. What is the side effects to that PP?
Manhattan Southern District of New York, and I was in court today for the trial of Sean Diddy Combs, and very dramatic day in court, raising a lot of questions. Very powerful testimony by his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. She took the stand. She's about at least 8 months pregnant. Got up there on the stand and started to detail very calmly, very methodically, without any malice in her voice and without any kind of snide undertones that some people might have expected to hear from her. She detailed the beginning of her relationship with Sean Combs, which was when she was 19. She first met him. She was looking forward to having a recording career with him. She actually signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Records, his label, and she thought she was on her way to stardom at that point. Instead, what evolved was a personal relationship where he came on to her. She got involved with him personally, and then soon after they were intimate, she says these freak-offs began. And we've heard a lot of talk in the media about what these freak-offs are, but I want to explain it to you, and it might be a little disturbing and triggering for some people, so I'm just giving you that in advance, but I'll try to be as delicate about it, but as accurate as possible. So basically what would happen with these freak-offs, the first one happened in New York City, and basically there would be a man who would be hired. In this first case, it was a male stripper who also worked as an escort. The male stripper would have, or escort, would have sex with Cassie while Combs was in the room in the corner. Now, the first time that they did it, she said that Combs was wearing a white bathrobe. He had a baseball hat on. He had a red bandana covering the lower part of his face, and that he was sitting there in the corner because he didn't want the escort apparently to see who he was. Cassie was dressed in red lingerie. She had red platform pumps, like stripper type of shoes. She was wearing a red wig and sunglasses because she didn't want the escort to walk away or to identify her until they knew that this person would keep their secrets with them. So they proceeded to have sex. She proceeded to have sex with him. Combs all the while sitting back and giving directions as to what should happen. So he first instructed them to massage each other with baby oil. She later testified today, this afternoon, that there were about 10 large bottles of baby oil that were used in every one of these freak-offs, which would last anywhere from 1 to 4 days. And usually the participants would be Cassie, a male sex worker, having sex with her, somebody that she was told to hire. She would do the actual bookings from these escort platforms and escort apps and escort websites, and she would be the one that would actually hire the escort to come in there. And then depending upon whether or not he liked the performance, Combs would pay the escort anywhere from $150, but if it went on for multiple days, the escort would be paid up to about $6,000 or $7,000 in cash. So she said
if he
started off,
why
would she do something like that? She said she was young and naive. That's a question a lot of people were asking.
What you mean, Deborah?
The prosecutor asked her.
Deborah, stop playing. They killed his thing where it didn't want to work no more. What you mean they killed him? Are y'all being facetious talking about she ate shit or she is the shit? Who got killed?
Directly, why would you do this? And she said, because I was young and naive and I wanted to make him happy and I knew that this made him happy. But she said over time, and now we're talking about years, they were doing these freak-offs in a lot of different places, New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Las Vegas, and there got to be a handful of these male sex workers that were the ones who were their favorites and who they trusted. So she said that it became more and more
Y'all ain't gonna let me. Y'all not gonna let me sit back and chill today. I see. Because let me tell you something. I don't know what I was doing. I think it was the day I was on that I'll Be Sure. And I was deep off into something. Who said that? Who? Vanessa. Hey, Vanessa. And I ran across this little guy that was missing. And I was looking and watching, and I found one of his TikToks. And he was from North Carolina, South Carolina, one of them liners. And he was also a Broadway dancer, theater arts, you know. He did Michael Jackson, you know, Broadway. He missed it. So when I was looking at it in one of his heartfelt TikToks, it really touched me. And he was denouncing that homosexual lifestyle. And he was talking about a platform, and you know, and that's not what God wanted for him. And it was just the way, it was as if he was, I'm gonna have to let y'all see it. And I said to myself, because he talked about going deep and dark and ads and doing things and with people that he didn't know, and what he was saying, it reminded me of this shit here, and the masquerade parties, and you know, ucking and you know, folk, and you don't know, just, and so when I'm telling you, every time I think about him, I think about him being at one of these sex offs. And I'm saying, I wonder, could he have been a witness? Cute guy. cute little guy, and you could tell he was used to be flamboyant and out there, and he was in New York. I said, Lord, I hope ain't nothing. But when you said he did, that's why I said who. But I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna show y'all today. We're gonna go there. And I don't know. I'm just saying it just
more and more degrading.
It just has a ring of
things done to her.
Let me look
she
it
said
up
that
now.
the baby oil, Combs insisted that their bodies always be glistening, and to keep this glisten going, they had to heat up the baby oil. They would run it under hot water so that the baby oil would be warm when they put it on their bodies. She said FREAK0FF supplies included lots of candles, the baby oil, of course, and then special outfits for her. These very sexy lingerie stripper type outfits, which she would purchase at Pleasure Chest in Los Angeles or the Hustler store there. And then she described how the relationship devolved, and that, you know, her music career was not going anywhere. To endure the humiliation, which was her word, of these freak-offs, which you can imagine the dehumanization of them. She had to take drugs, she said, in order to just get through it, and to be able to get through it, because if she didn't get through it, she feared what would happen. What would happen was a beating from Combs, according to her, and she outlined some of the injuries that she sustained when he was displeased with her: busted eyes, black eyes, swollen lip, a broken lip, cuts on her lip, and a lot of hits to her head. And he seemed fond of one thing that we saw in that horrific video from the Intercontinental Hotel in LA with the beating was dragging her by her hair into different places. And so a lot of times he would watch, he would direct every move, he would tell the escort what he wanted him to do to Cassie, he would tell Cassie what to do, he would tell them, oh, you need more baby oil, and then they would have to do that. So there was a lot of direction constantly from Combs, which of course is very key to the case that the prosecutors are trying to bring, because according to the legal experts that I've talked to are very familiar with federal law and actually have tried cases in these courtrooms here at federal court. They say they have to prove for the trafficking, for the RICO part of it, they have to prove that there was coercion, that she was forced into doing this. Because one of the big questions that a lot of people had when we first started to learn details about this case was, if she was coerced, if she was forced, why did she stay with him for so long? And she said she was, she was actually in love with him, that when he was nice, he was charming. And of course, he was also, at the time that she was with him, he was at the height of his career. Basically, I mean, he had the Sean John clothing line going, Revolt TV was starting, he was hosting the MTV Video Music Awards. There were a lot of big things. He was getting Grammy nominations. There was a lot going on for him career-wise. He was being hugely successful, even a Broadway appearance. And then, of course, running the New York City Marathon to raise money for education in under-resourced communities. So she was meeting, she was involved with him at this very, very prominent time in his life where a lot was going on and a lot of attention was on him, and it seemed as if he could do no wrong. Of course, now we found out that was an image, and now we're finding out more about what the reality is for her. Now, while she was on the stand, as I said, she's estimated to be like 8 or 8.5 months pregnant. She was rubbing her stomach, rubbing her belly the way pregnant women do, or they just touch their stomach when you just touch your stomach when you're pregnant, and just kind of like to feel that heartbeat or feel that movement of that baby that you're carrying. And so she was doing that a couple of times during the testimony. She reached for tissues because she was getting emotional. Tears were coming to her eye. At one point, she really did get choked up and had to stop for a moment or two, but the prosecutor kept on relentlessly. And then also, she was asked to describe her daily life. Her daily life was basically being all centered around Combs and around making him happy and doing whatever he wanted her to do so that he would not hit her, would not beat her up, or would not punish her. This was the term that she used, this word punishing. And that when he was upset with her, Combs or his bodyguards would take her phones away, take her phone away, take her laptop away, so that she couldn't communicate or do anything. And that he insisted that she be the one to actually book these male escorts. So on all of the transactions, it's her credit card, it's her, her name. She's the one that's actually booking this. But another key key piece of the case will kind of emerge today of how the prosecution is going to weave this story of racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation across state lines for prostitution. They're basically laying the groundwork for this sweeping RICO case that if Combs is found guilty, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. He's currently 55 years old. And then what is happening was, she said that his three bodyguards, there were 3 or 4 main bodyguards that were always with him, driving her, that would do whatever he wanted them to do. She testified about how one time he put a gun in her purse because they were going into downtown LA for an event that she was hosting, and she felt very nervous about that. She testified about these bodyguards basically doing whatever he asked them to do. And then also there were these assistants. One assistant, she said, would take care of the money, would give her money, and that by a certain period of time, after that first year with him, he was controlling, he or his business, his employees of Bad Boy Worldwide were actually controlling every single aspect of her life. So I have to give her credit for maintaining her composure throughout, because she's looking across that courtroom. Combs is feet away from her at the table with the defense. His 6 oldest kids, not Baby Love because Baby Love's too little, but his 6 oldest kids are there in the courtroom. His mother is in the courtroom. There's some Combs supporters who are there. A lot of media from all over the world. She maintained her composure. She maintained her dignity, but she stayed very factual and almost in some cases matter of fact describing how these things were going. And she said he really had a thing for Babyoil. At one point, he had a pop-up pool, like a little pop-up kiddie pool set up in one of the hotels, and had it filled with Babyoil, which he wanted her to go into in her heels and in her clothes, which is just unthinkable, some of these things that were going on. But the abuse, the degradation, putting body fluids in her mouth and that type of thing, him and the male escort on various occasions. And she said she reached a certain point where she felt really, really worthless. And
so both of them put body fluids in her mouth. Is that what she just said? Both him and the escort? Hey, Byron. So both of them gave her lemon juice. I mean, special cocktail in Mr. Peabody cocktail juice. I mean, Lord.
Babyoil, which he wanted her to go into in her heels and in her clothes, which is just unthinkable, some of these things that were going on. But the abuse, the degradation, putting body fluids in her mouth and that type of thing, him and the male escort on various occasions. And she said she reached a certain point where she felt really, really worthless. And that was just so very sad, because you got a sense of just this extreme fatigue she must have felt, this powerlessness, and just this tremendous, just almost prison, and it's ironic because at the time that they were together, when they emerged as a public couple, it looked very glamorous. She's a stunningly gorgeous woman. He was always dressed to the nines and had all kinds of jewelry. We'd see them on red carpets. We'd see them at these A-list events. And then behind closed doors, it was basically a living hell for her and a real nightmare. But that's the latest here. The family just left the courtroom a short.
You know what? I think he punished Tucker. Well, he's sick. But he didn't do that to J-Lo. I think she was supposed to be J-Lo's replacement. And she couldn't measure up. She couldn't sing. She couldn't make it pop, because, J-Lo couldn't either. But she could at least make it pop. The 90s, he got turned out by Clive. Chopper said Clive Davis and Andre Farrell. And I figured Andre, and I figured that because he tried so hard to do an intern. And I remember one of them other TV personalities, I can't remember if he was on E! News or what have you, his little nephew, he asked Diddy about an internship. a bad boy, and he said yeah, and I think the first go around, it was okay until he called him in the office and told him he needed to get on his knees and open up, Hey, Max to the boogie, Max to the boogie, and he quit. So it was as if everything that he went through, I'm her. I think some of his punishment with her is that she couldn't be a J-Lo. She couldn't sing. She couldn't replicate. She just could not make it happen. And then he just hold her out like that. Because I don't think he did that with J-Lo like that. Now, Kim Porter said that she, some of that freaky deaky shit she liked. But it got to the extreme when he expected for her to still perform and do those freak-offs when she was pregnant. You're talking about Cassie, big pregnant baby. She every bit of 9 months. It's 10 months, it's 40 weeks. She every bit of 9, about to hit that 10th. Let's finish. Let's see what I got next. Did y'all see the guy name I was talking about? Did y'all see his name? I had some stuff already lined up. Let's see what Scandal was talking about.
Cassie takes the stand to testify. For the first time, we're hearing about P. Diddy's alleged abuse straight from the source. The woman who started it all, Cassandra Ventura. This is Scandal, presented by Law and Crime. I'm
big pregnant. She big pregnant.
Day 2 of the P. Diddy trial, and we're already hearing some really gripping testimony straight from victim number 1, Cassie, Cassandra Ventura. And okay, we knew that Cassie was gonna be a big deal. We knew that she was gonna be the star witness. Because honestly, she's the reason we're here at all. She's the reason why P. Diddy faces any federal charges. So we knew that Cassie would be one of the first witnesses. We predicted this yesterday in our videos. But what we couldn't prepare for was the sheer emotion that Cassie brought to court. And once again, it's federal court. So the downside is we don't have any video from the inside, but we do thankfully have the hookup from someone
you ain't never lied
inside the courtroom. Long crime reporter
they was talking about peeing on mouth and shit. I know her water wanted to break.
I can't necessarily describe it as a tense moment necessarily, but I can only imagine what was kind of going through everybody's minds. You have Diddy's children on one side, his family on one side. You have Diddy, who was looking at Cassie as the moment that she walked inside that courtroom today. She was wearing a long brown dress. She is very, very much so, appears to be in her 3rd trimester of her pregnancy. And so she kind of walked very quietly and very slowly up to the witness stand, took the, swore the oath and that type of sort, and then sat down for the prosecution's questioning.
In this episode, we'll feature multiple clips from Elizabeth's reporting throughout, so make sure to stay tuned and hear more from her in a minute. But first, we've got to talk about P. Diddy, the defendant in this case, 55-year-old Sean Combs, and why he's here. He faces 5 federal sex crimes charges, including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. And Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to all of these charges.
Why are women everywhere choosing Abby X, the new tummy tuck alternative? I got the tummy tuck results without the tummy tuck downtime. Get a flat, tight tummy with Sonobello's new
just scared
Abby
that
X.
she
One that has pleaded not guilty to all of these charges, hence why we're here at the trial. And actually, just to backtrack even more, Sean Combs, P. Diddy, has denied the charges all the way back from the jump. And what is the jump?
They need to bring in some more people.
It's the OG lawsuit brought by Cassandra Ventura, Cassie herself. That's right. All roads in this case, in my opinion, lead back to Cassie. She filed her civil suit back in November of 2023, where she alleged emotional, physical, sexual abuse. That's really the first time we heard about any of this. Now, of course, it was settled just one day later, but I say this time and time again, the damage was already done. It was too late because Cassie's lawsuit paved the way for many other lawsuits. And I think we can really connect the dots if we're talking about Cassie, the domino effect. I mean, at this point in time, there are so many civil suits against P. Diddy, and Cassie was one of the first. So if we use that as our star marker, the intro to conflict, Cassie filing her lawsuit, which, by the way, future lawsuits actually referred back to Cassie's lawsuit and were like, hey, because of Cassie's bravery in bringing forth these allegations, which I have to say, they're allegations because Sean Combs has not been convicted. Because of Cassie's bravery, I felt comfortable enough to come forward and file this lawsuit. Multiple other ones say that. So just, remember that, okay? So Cassie files suit. That's our intro to conflict. That leads directly into a federal investigation into Sean Combs. After that, that leads to the federal raids of his house. After that, that leads to the federal indictment. And thus, here we are right now. Confirmation, Cassie Cassandra Ventura is victim one. And we actually heard that yesterday in the government's opening statements.
Stuff that
they straight up said,
her.
yep, Cassie's going to be our star witness. And here's what happened. They kind of described a little bit, a precursor to Cassie's testimony, introduced her to the jury, and talked about her relationship with Diddy. They alleged that Cassie lived in fear, that she only participated in these freak-offs because of Diddy. Here's what prosecutors said in their opening statement, quote, Cassie tried the first freak-off because she loved the defendant and wanted to make him happy. After that, she knew it was not something she wanted to do. But because of the defendant, it became almost everything she did. Because if Cassie didn't do what the defendant wanted, the consequences were severe. Physically, the defendant beat her viciously, exploding over even the tiniest slight and beating her to show who was in charge. And also, the prosecution, the government talked about how Diddy allegedly had power over Cassie's personal life in their relationship, but also her career. Here's what they said, quote, and Cassie's career and livelihood were also in the defendant's hands, something the defendant made clear to Cassie. He told her he could destroy her career by releasing the videos that he recorded of her performing sex acts on dozens and dozens of male escorts. So Cassie knew that failing to please the defendant, refusing his demands, had more than just physical consequences. It had the power to ruin her life. Okay, and I want to know before I go on any farther, I just read from transcripts. So those are legitimately exactly what was said in the Southern District of New York for the Sean P. Diddy Combs jury yesterday during opening statements, literally word for word. And the reason that I have those transcripts and not Cassie's transcripts is because at the time of this recording, Cassie is still testifying, like literally right now. And the transcripts don't come out until a couple hours after court is over. So subscribe right now to our Scandal channel so that when the future episode comes out, when I do have Cassie's transcript and can read exactly what she said, you'll be ready to go. But that's why I'm reading the transcripts from openings and not from Cassie. Okay, but I wanted to make things even though, right? So I talked about the government, but what about the defense? So the defense talks about Cassie too, because once again, she's a star witness. And they say Cassie was a strong, capable adult and that everything in her relationship with P. Diddy was consensual. If she didn't want to be there, she could leave, which the defense highlights, by the way, they broke up. They're not together still. Cassie's married to another guy and has 2 kids with a third on the way. She's not with Diddy.
How Diddy gonna say he can't stay in the courtroom?
Cassie's motive in all of this, in filing the civil suit and in testifying today, money. Here's straight from the transcripts, quote, the evidence will show you that he was extremely jealous of Cassie's actual
Vanessa, don't leave, because I'm going to show you who I'm talking about.
She was uncontrollably jealous of his. This led to a toxic relationship between 2 people that I expect the evidence will show deeply, deeply loved each other. Perhaps they did not always show love to one another the way you would with your partner, but they were in a relationship and she was not being trafficked. Okay, that was a slight recap of day 1 and, again, the intro to conflict that led us here. But I want to talk about a few rulings that preceded Cassie's testimony. First, Cassie's husband, interesting, a guy by the name of Alex Fine, who met Cassie because of Diddy. He was actually Diddy's personal trainer. So when Cassie's about to testify, undoubtedly, this is going to be emotional for her. I mean, setting aside all of the allegations of sexual, emotional, physical abuse, going up and testifying in front of your ex is got to be some form of emotion.
And he up in there doing a heart.
I was guessing that I wouldn't like that. So she wanted her husband there, I guess. And that's what the government said. Cassie needs a support system. However, the defense is like, we don't want him in there. Have him out. He might be called as a witness. The judge kind of came up with a compromise. He said, okay, her husband, Alex Fine, can be in the courtroom during Cassie's testimony. However, if and when discussion about a 2018 alleged rape happens, then he's got to go. Here's Elizabeth again on all of that.
As far as who her support was inside that courtroom, that included her brother, what we presume to be her mother, as well as even her husband, Alex Fine. And he was kind of the topic of some of these arguments outside of the presence of the jury, mainly about just some testimony that they're expected to happen, especially later on today or even possibly tomorrow, because she is expected to be on the stand for a while.
There was another ruling before Cassie took the stand as well, and it was the following. The defense is like, we want Cassie seated in the witness stand, in the box, before the jury comes in. That way they won't see her belly, which, by the way, Cassie is pregnant right now, and she appears to be in her 3rd trimester. You can see from the courtroom sketches and from Elizabeth, who will describe her, that she is very evidently pregnant, okay? So the defense is like, we don't want jurors to know that she's pregnant. However, this was overruled. She actually came in after the jury was already seated. So they saw her stand, could see her big pregnant belly, and then sat down. So the jury knows that she is pregnant, and, that's all of that. There were also reports that Cassie was wearing a brown snug dress, so you really could see that she was pregnant. And I guess you can see to the best of your ability from the courtroom sketches. Now, Cassie gets on the stand and talks about her relationship with Diddy. Of course, it was an 11-year-long relationship. And she said, yeah, there were some pretty violent arguments during that time. I mean, allegedly, Diddy would drag me, kick me, knock me over, and this happened frequently. She also said that the violence was displayed visually. She allegedly testified, according to reports, quote, usually I would get knots on my forehead, black eyes, red bruises all over my body. It just depended. Cassie also touched on that infamous Intercontinental Hotel video. That's the CNN video that was leaked prior to all of this. Here's what she said, according to reports, quote, that's me and Sean, Intercontinental, Century City. We were having an encounter. We call it a freak-off. And that's really important to note, because in the defense openings, they talked about this Intercontinental video. We actually heard testimony yesterday from a hotel security guard talking about it. And the defense is like, hey, yeah, this was bad. It is bad. It was physical abuse. It's not good. Straight up, hand to God, yes, Diddy did partake in abuse of that kind. However, it wasn't abuse because of trafficking. You can see clearly in the video, and I'm being the defense right now, you can see clearly in the video that Diddy just wanted her phone. This is an argument over jealousy. Diddy was jealous of whoever Cassie was sleeping with, allegedly. And Cassie was jealous of whoever Diddy was having sex with. This was about the phone, because the phone, they talked a lot about the phone. That's where all of your secrets are. That's where your text messages are with people you don't want your significant other to know. All of the things, they're talking about that. So basically the defense is saying, okay, this isn't about a freak-off. However, Cassie's testimony once again becomes key, because she says this happened after a freak-off. Talking about freak-offs, this is something we heard a lot about from Cassie. She says that Diddy was the one who orchestrated them. Here's what she said on the stand again, quote, I was 22 at the time. My stomach churned. Didn't have a concept of how that would be a turn on, but I accepted the responsibility. I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy. It wasn't something that I wanted to be doing, especially as regularly as it became. But again, I was in love and wanted to make him happy. At some point, I felt I didn't have much of a choice. There was a lot more discussion about freak-offs too, especially in regards to the exhibits, because one of the key things in regards to these freak-offs is the alleged recordings of them. Yesterday, we heard testimony from a male escort who said, yeah, I saw P. Diddy recording on a cell phone multiple times. There are recordings that the government apparently has, and there's been back and forth from the media. Some people saying, we want to see the videos. You know what? I'll just let Elizabeth Milner explain this.
So there was a lot of concerns about these exhibits, mainly more so, I guess, from us on the press ends portion, just seeing that these photos were sexually explicit and very graphic in nature. The government planned to show some of these images because they, according to the government, were 6 still images. They were nude images of victims that were sexually explicit.
This is the pink salt recipe that took me from 179 to 126 in just weeks.
you know what, the best explicit, but the government kind of came up with a solution that, you know, they would provide headphones to the jurors, so that way, you know, we wouldn't hear any type of audio of, you know, these exhibits that were going to be portrayed. The government wanted to keep this material out of public record. The defense, meanwhile, says it's pretty much adult pornography, and so that's when we kind of started connecting the dots that these were, you know, videos and images of, you know, these freak-offs that the government is kind of talking about that's central to their case. The defense says it's a privacy issue, and they question what us in the press would pretty much do with these types of images. And you know what? We have a right to kind of talk about them, especially not in a salacious manner or anything like that. I don't think that was any of our intents on, you know, being in the courtroom while these images were played or anything like that. But apparently it seems like, you know, a point for the defense that, you know, they were just wondering what the press would do about it, especially with so many eyes on this case. And so, you know, they wanted to address this issue. The media did have a response through a lawyer. Not 100% sure what outlet they were with, but the media's response was pretty much that the press needs to see these. You know, the testimony isn't necessarily suitable for these images because, you know, the big question is, was this consensual or was this coerced? And so the media lawyer, you know, offered maybe just the pool reporters to see these types of images, so that way there would at least be some media in the room, so that way a report about this. And so from the media's response, they completely objected to total sealment of these images and says that it's a First Amendment issue. And so this is going to be taken up probably at a later time, possibly when we all come back from the lunch break, just to kind of get a better picture of it. But it seems like, you know, from both parties that they're kind of fearful about these images getting out. But on our side, we have a right to report on what's going on. I mean, look at just the media campouts just behind me. A lot of people have interest in this, not just for salacious headlines or anything like that, but because this is a very high profile and criminal case. And of course, we will respectfully report on it if we are able to see these images.
During Cassie's testimony, she also talked about her early relationship with Diddy, because you have to remember, there was a good time in all of this. I know that that's kind of hard to see at times, but their relationship, it seems, kind of started off okay. She says that she was in love with him. She was only 19 years old when she met him. What's interesting is that there was a 17-year age gap, but she's over the legal age. She's of consenting age. She's 19. Here's what she said, quote, "He was a larger-than-life musician, a fan of music. Didn't know too much about him personally. When I signed contract, I was 19. It was a 10-album deal. Released an album later that year in 2006 in August." Now, this is important too, because the prosecution alleges that Diddy had control not only over Cassie's personal life, but also her professional life. So she talks about how she signed to Bad Boy Records, Diddy's record label, for a 10-record deal. However, only one album came out during all of that.
So that means,
now, she also says that when things started up with Diddy, she didn't even want a relationship. Cassie also talks about the first time that she and Diddy kissed. I guess it was her 21st birthday at the VMAs in a bathroom. And she says it completely took her off guard that Diddy kissed her. She wasn't expecting it. She said she ran and told a friend after because she didn't know what to do. However, their meetings continued and the relationship eventually grew. She also talked about how Diddy was the one who introduced her to oral sex. Here's what she said, quote, "He made me feel crazy for not reciprocating. At the time, I did not understand that kind of relationship, and I was in a relationship with someone else. I was just so young and did not have the vocabulary for some of the things we talked about.
You know,
I was just trying to understand it, just completely
and she didn't know how to.
At that point. Cassie also talked about their first time having intercourse. She said it was on a boat in Miami and she had taken a blue dolphin ecstasy pill. She says, quote, Sean, and she calls him Sean, which is interesting. Sean gave it to me. I had never taken it before. I was just out of it, laughing, didn't know what it was until a little bit later. Now, she talked about Diddy's mood swings too, and she says this very day by day, which honestly, when I heard that little bit, I thought, okay, that makes sense. I mean, sometimes I'm in a good mood, sometimes I'm in a bad mood. That I feel like is normal for just generally people. However, it sounds, at least according to Cassie's testimony, that it was a bit more severe than a normal up and down situation with your mood. She said that his mood swings affected her greatly. She said, quote, make the wrong face and the next thing I knew, I would get hit in the face. He would say, watch your mouth. Here's Elizabeth Milner again on this testimony.
But as far as when she got onto the stand, she was very soft-spoken when she was answering ASA Emily Johnson's question. She, you know, we've been following this case from the beginning, from the moment that she had filed that federal lawsuit that was just very shocking, a very bombshell lawsuit that we all know was settled the following day. But as far as just kind of comparing the allegations to her witness testimony, it was kind of a difference in the sense that we had only seen her allegations through words, through paper, through court filings and that sort. But, you know, when she got on the stand, it's now, you know, for jurors in their minds, they're putting a voice and they're putting a person to, you know, a name finally. They're seeing just from her side of the view, just kind of her relationship with Diddy. Much of the testimony was very foundational. You know, when did she meet Diddy? How long before, you know, the two engaged in sexual intercourse? As well as, you know, she was briefly asked about the CNN video, and she did confirm that she was leaving a freak off when the vicious beating kind of happened. As far as just some other big highlights, we were shown a lot of photos of her and Sean, as she refers to him in court, as well as her friends. You know, we saw a photo of him being Diddy, Kim Porter, another friend, and Cassie all at the 2016 awards. We saw a photo of Diddy with Cassie.
Deborah, I could see a man saying that, though. I could see a man saying she knew what the deal was. But again, in the beginning, she said she wanted to do it for him because that's what he was into. But I believe that at any point that you saying, I don't want to do that no more, you know, I don't want to do that. I'm tired. My coochie lips hurt. It's burning down there. I'm tired. It went on for days. These freak offs went on for 3-4 days. 3-4 days. Deborah Coker. Can you imagine 3 or 4 days straight ucking, banging, funky room? We don't take a shower. What? Straight. And he beating his meat over there in the corner. Tired. Ladies, can we be real? Lord, what AunTeaFee finna say? Can we be real? Birthday, holiday, anniversary, you know, one of them good olds. I just feel like your knees is what? Hour and a half, you're going numb. You know, it's just, ooh. 2 hours, your ass can't walk. 2.5. I mean, you know, at that point, any time you stop and go piss, am I going too deep? Am I? But I guess that's why the oil keep you lubricated, so you won't be dry. You know, you won't be burning. I mean, you know, hell, you done toast some skin. What I heard him do to Meek Mill, they turn skin. Dang street walk over. I mean, are we gonna keep it real? You talking about 3-4 days straight? Where they do that at? Where they do that at? Even in your 20s, where you just bunny hopping, where it just, you get, it ain't no 3 days straight. When do they eat? Oh, that's who would even ask you to do some shit like that? Straight. It ain't even the man I'm in love with. You understand what I'm saying? How I feel they should play coke bean, but it ain't even the nigga I think I'm in love with. You got me banging and to somebody I don't even know for 3-4 days straight. Shit. I ain't going. No. She didn't have no bat. She ain't had no Madea iron cast skillet. She ain't had nothing. Girl, who raised you? Ooh, You ain't had no grits. You ain't had no oatmeal.
Her friend and another potential witness to this case, all sitting on a couch. We had seen photos of their trip to Miami. We saw photos of them at the strip club together.
Hurt just thinking about what yours went through.
2007, for Halloween, she had spoken about just her time working as an artist for Bad Boy, and just that pretty much some of these allegations she had talked about in her lawsuit, but also that Diddy controlled a lot of aspects of her recording career. She signed a 10-album deal, and however she only put out one album. A lot of the songs that she had even recorded had just gone either unreleased, or they were leaked and that type of sort. And so some of those were like kind of the big highlights, I would say.
There will be more from Cassie's testimony, especially when we get those transcripts. However, right now, I still have one big question, one that we can answer right now. Was there an interaction with Diddy? Did Cassie look at it? Did Diddy look at her? What happened? How did the jury react? Well, once again, we go to our girl, Queen Elizabeth Milner.
Well, let me tell you, it was a very packed courtroom, so it was really hard to kind of see all the jurors in their faces. But from the little view that I got of just seeing,
I believe that Meek Mill too, baby.
Intently, like they
he was
have
sitting
been
in that water.
Taking
I'm
notes,
sure it was heated.
Watching back and forth, both the prosecution asked their questions, and then going over and kind of looking at the witness, that being Cassie.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Now, as far as Diddy goes, he was watching very intently. Like, let me tell you something. He is very much so participating in his defense. He is jotting notes down. He's passing these notes, because we do know when the cross-examination comes down, it's going to be Anna Maria Esteval who's going to be doing that line of questioning once the defense does get to the cross of Cassie's testimony. But as far as Diddy goes, he definitely kept his eyes on Cassie for the most duration while she was on the stand, which I can only imagine felt intimidating on her, and possibly, I'm obviously not in her mind, so I don't know that 100% or anything like that. But as far as Cassie looking back in Diddy's direction, even when she had gotten off the stand, she didn't look at him once. She just walked immediately outside through the gallery, didn't look at him, didn't look at his children. There was no type of like soft smile, none of that. I think, even she might not have noticed her husband was right there in the courtroom too, but she kept laser focused, got out of the door, and then that's when everybody else kind of left the courtroom for lunch break.
That's where we're at right now at the time of this recording. We're midway through Cassie's testimony, and I'm telling you right now, more deep dives are to come.
Hold on, y'all, before I forget. I really want to show y'all this guy that I'm going to have to keep my eye on, and I'm going to have to do a little research on him. Hold on. Because he missing. He missing. Hold on. Let me watch her right quick. I thought I sent it over here.
Laura, options means even more affordable ideas for your bathroom.
Thought I sent it over here. Hold on.
Rika, how would you describe Cassie's demeanor when she took the stand today?
When she walked in there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs.
What was Sean's reaction when he saw Cassie enter the courtroom?
You know, attorneys say that this is the first time that they've met since 2018 when she attended the funeral for Kim Porter, which is the mother of Sean Combs' 3 children. So to watch Sean Combs watching her was really interesting because they haven't seen each other in at least 6 years. But he can't say anything. You know, this is a moment for him where he has to be silent. And right now we're hearing what she says in terms of what happened during the course of their over 10-year relationship.
Is he showing any reaction to what she is saying on the stand?
I can tell you that immediately, the moment she opened her mouth, you could see that Combs was listening intently to everything that she has to say, as well as those jurors. People know that she was that star witness, the key person in all of this. When you think about that civil suit that came out in 2023, that was settled the day after, she really is the person that connects all the dots. When you look at the indictment and you look at some of the charges, she's the one talking about the freak-offs and what was involved and how she had to act. The prosecution is asking her questions to show that she wasn't in control. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21, she was young, she didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
And at some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs, and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse, in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced.
Yeah, she's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and she even said, you know, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know any better. But she's really telling the story of someone who thought she was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. She didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, I know, you don't want to do it. And she said, oh no, well, it's not that. But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
It's so difficult to hear all of these details. And since taking the stand, Cassie has been emotional. What made Cassie emotional on the stand?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak-off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times, but that's when she got emotional. When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down, because she said, I enjoyed being with Sean Combs. And she says, I did it because it made him happy.
What did the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And
that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Just how important is Cassie's testimony to the prosecution?
I think it really connects the dots, Rachel. When you look at that initial indictment and what's being alleged, she really is the person that has probably the most information about this idea that the prosecution says, which is creating a criminal enterprise for Sean Combs' sexual desires. Something else that the jurors saw today that sort of connects it back to this alleged criminal enterprise are 7 photos of people that were very close to Sean Combs, one even his former chief of staff. And these were all people that Cassie Ventura was able to name and explain the functions in terms of what they did: security, driver, chief of staff, someone that handled financials. So it's showing that she knew some of these people, again, because she was with him, around him for so long.
What have reactions in the courtroom been when explicit details of these freak-offs are being described?
Honestly, I'm looking at his family a lot as these details are coming out, and they really don't have a reaction. They're listening. I thought it was interesting yesterday that during part of that testimony with the escort, the male escort, the girls left. So Sean Combs has 3 daughters that are in the courtroom. They left for some of that testimony yesterday, but today they are staying through all of that testimony from Cassie Ventura.
Cassie's testimony is clearly explosive to both sides, both the prosecution and the defense. What other celebrities might we see take the stand in this case?
You know, there was a moment early on when Cassie mentioned Dallas Austin, who she called a friend who's a producer. So I don't know if that's someone that we're going to hear from. We know that there were pictures shown to prospective jurors that are well-known celebrities, you know, Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Lauren London. We don't know, though, how they fit yet into why they were even asked, do you know these people? Are you familiar with them?
So the prosecution is questioning Cassie right now, still questioning her.
The defense hasn't even got a chance to, I mean, that might change based on the timing, but, you know, because she's such a key witness, it's likely that she will be on that stand the rest of the day.
What are you learning about the nicknames that were used between Cassie and Sean?
Yeah, we learned that Cassie referred to him as Pop Pop, and Sean Combs referred to her as CC. The prosecution says, what does CC stand for? They said, she said Cassie Combs.
What kind of witness is Cassie coming off as to the jurors?
I think naturally when you look at her visually, people see that she's pregnant and looking like she's due any day now. So they might, you know, have sympathy for her in that way, but we don't really know. We know that they've been instructed to be fair and impartial. As to what type of witness she's coming off as, she's describing someone that she was, someone she said that was trying to figure out who she was at that time and who she was allowed to be. Now you're looking at somebody that's almost 40 years old, totally different person, but even in describing what was going on at her at that time, taking drugs, trying to please Sean Combs, she's really just sort of laying out the case for her not having a lot of control. So I think that's the takeaway. This is someone who is making it very clear that at that particular time in her life, she says she did not have any control really over what she wore, what she did, who she was having sex with. She's a different person now. But I think when she talks about those details and even reflecting on them for herself, as we saw today, she broke down in that courtroom.
Her husband's been by her side. He's in the courtroom.
I cannot find
that. To see his reaction.
I was sitting about 2 rows behind Cassie's husband, and he also not showing any emotion that I can see visibly on his face, but just staying there and there obviously to support his wife. But I can only imagine how difficult it must be for everybody listening to these details, but definitely somebody who's as close to her as her husband.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. When I tell you I cannot find that TikTok that had me in tears. Hold on. And I'm wondering why it won't pull up. Hold on, y'all. Dang, I wish I could find. The one where he did his heartfelt. Oh, wow. And it was on TikTok. Wow, hold on. Let me let y'all see what I'm talking about, though.
Okay, so over the weekend we hear a plea from Hugh Jackman. I wanted to get that in too. Please, if anyone has any information
I
to the
don't
whereabouts.
want this one. I don't want this one.
Trail.
I don't want that one.
I think if an average person was driving.
I don't want that one. Hold on. Dang, I went in there looking for it too. Hold on, because I want y'all to see what I'm talking about. And if y'all was to see that TikTok, and let me see. Why is all this say? Let's see if this is it. What in the world? Here we go. Oh, why is it not letting me play it? Oh my goodness. Oh. Why is it not letting me play it? How can I play this? Y'all, this is him right here. This one right here is what I'm trying to get. This right here is where he talked about that he was on these sites and he was doing stuff and he was just crying. He was talking about how he noted that, you know, God wanted him to not do that anymore, and he wanted to be a positive of assistance to people who didn't want to do that to their body and have sex with people that he didn't even know and that he done met. And I was like, oh, that show sound like that freak out stuff. So it's trying to make me get it, and I don't know how to make this one play right here. This is it right here. This is it right here. And he went missing shortly after he did this video right here. And I don't know why I cannot play it, but I was able to play it. Hold on. And I don't want to install it on this device. I can't. Oh my God. I'm going to install it and I'll just cancel it afterwards. I got y'all. Y'all got to see what I'm talking about. That's him. That's him. Wonder what Diddy was doing and feeling, seeing her doing that testimony. Probably wanted to jack out. Who, Joanne? Who you say look like? Lauren London. Lauren London. Oh, Lord, please don't take me through a whole bunch. I just installed it. Lord, I don't want to go through all of that. Why does everything have to be so complicated when I'm trying to just show y'all one thing? Oh my God. Yeah, I know I'm about to give up, right? Because I don't want to have to go through all of this. I don't want a TikTok account. Why?
I've been delivered from homosexuality. I'm thankful to be where I'm at right now. My journey hasn't always been easy.
He missing.
I share because I believe what my word says. I believe what the Bible says, and it's taken me time to figure out. It's taken me time to figure out who I am. And I've been through some really tough things. And I've shared some of these things I've shared it on my podcast, and I've opened up about some of my struggles, but I haven't been, as clear with that. I'm sharing because I know there might be some other brother out there that might be struggling.
Who was talking? Oh, okay.
I understand not knowing. I understand not knowing who you are when you look in the mirror. I get that. And a big part of that was me being molested when I was younger. I was touched when I was a kid, and that formed the identity of who Zelig was. And it became something that really put a shield over myself. I became a people pleaser. I wasn't myself. I was moving outside of who the Bible told me I should be. And it took me some time. And obviously I love people. Like I love y'all, and the only reason I'm doing this is because
I felt like
God can do it for me. I know he can help whoever else may need some help.
Listen.
I've struggled with this for so long, and I feel free. I feel like I can be myself again. And this isn't a message of hate. This is a message of love and just understanding, because it'll put you through a hole. It will put you in, like when I fell into it, I was going on apps. I was going on apps and living a life that wasn't right. Like going on these apps and giving my body to somebody else who doesn't even know me. That's not cool, and that's a low standard of self-respect. And I'm not gonna do it to myself anymore. Going on these apps and just doing whatever I want. It's not okay. It wasn't okay, and God has forgiven me. I ask for His forgiveness for this because
do it. Hey, Dante. To y'all, it just feel like, yeah, he's confessing, but it also feels like he's trying to say, I don't know why I feel. Okay, let me let y'all. Oh wow. It's like he was playing with.
And I believe that God
he went too far.
I believe that God has helped me so much. He's helped me on my journey. And like I said, this isn't a message of hate at all, y'all.
This man went missing right after
I'm
this.
here enough to speak up for you, because for whoever may need to hear this, because it's real. This is real stuff. And being in New York City can be hard. I get it. It's everywhere. But you can get through it. And I'm a testament of that. God has pulled me away from myself in the areas that weren't healthy. I formed an image off this person I made when I was little. I formed this individual from a moment of being touched by a family member. And whoever may be listening to this, like a brother or a sister, if you were touched by a family member, I'm so sorry. That moment changed my life. It changed my life, and not in the best way for me. I hated myself. I truly hated myself. And God was talking to me, and that's why I started my podcast, y'all. That's why I started it. That's why I started my podcast, so I can speak out. But I was still struggling, and I apologize for anyone who listened to me when I was not walking in my words. I'm walking towards what I believe is true, and I believe the word is true, and God has been there for me. Guys, like, everything I've been through, y'all, like, I went through hell. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of not walking in who I believe myself to be, and I'm saying this too for any other brother out there that might be struggling, that might be having a hard time with their sexual desires and understanding that. Be where you are, okay? Be where you are, that's okay. Be right where you are. God is big enough to help you. God is able to walk with you even when you messing up. When I was messing up sometimes, y'all, I was in prayer. Jesus, Lord, help me in this moment. Help me in this moment right now. I know I'm wrong. Help me. And I believe if you just hold on, I know I got a lot of brothers that I work with, and I know, I get it, but I gotta let this off my heart to let you guys know that it can be achieved to find yourself in the Word.
Oh, y'all, it's just something about him for me. Okay, hold on. Hold on. It's just something about him.
I'm not trying to be out here. I'm not trying to be on this thing giving the whole sermon, okay? But I just wanted to be
it's like how to
transparent with you guys in this matter, and be upfront, and also
and
share
in the industry.
With my podcast,
and I'm like, well, who
before
was
I go to that,
hold on.
I want to say
Why y'all didn't tell me y'all couldn't hear? So y'all ain't heard none of this. Y'all ain't hear none of this. How long y'all been not able to hear? Y'all ain't hear none of this. Y'all didn't hear him crying or nothing. Y'all still can't hear? Y'all ain't heard none of this.